I'm in the middle of a bike at the moment, sitting at 261 watts. I'm 38.5 kilometers in. Today I wanted to take you through, first of all, thank you very much to our sponsors of this video, who are, I don't know how many sponsors. If you want to sort Phil D and Ronan Burnout, help us on the way. But today I wanted to explain to you about funding and how, if you want to be a full-time athlete and not work, how does that happen? What do you want? I'm doing a vlog. You're in it now. Congratulations. Come in closer. Karting and funding works as so. The World Championships, the 3 World Cups and the Europeans. There are your 5 opportunities to get funding as an international athlete. A one-off performance in the World Championships in an Olympic category can gain you funding, or 2 performances in the remaining 3 World Cups or the Europeans. Now the World Cups are like a tournament style where you don't have to attend the whole tournament, and the Europeans are just a one-off regatta. There are 3 tiers. There are international classification, which can get up to a maximum of €12,000, tax-free, as a grant given out to you in quarterly instalments. And because Rowing Ireland is termed as transitional sport, our NGB, i.e. Rowing Ireland, get our funds and then pass them out to us every 3 months in a one-off instalment. There's above the 12,000, there's world class, which is 20,000, is anywhere in the top 11 of your category if it's Olympic, plus 2 other spots, so anywhere in the top 13 for the men's double. In the men's single there's only 8 qualify, or 9 qualify I think, so you'd have to be in the top 11. Below that you're potentially eligible for international, but it's up to your NGB Rowing Ireland to decide whether or not you meet the criteria to require that funding. Say for example, totally hypothetical situation, lightweight, there's only 1 Olympic category left, and if you have 5 or 6 athletes going for that boat, and say 3 or 4 of them are getting funding, it's hard for you to justify giving out more funding to another 2 people, because only 2 of those athletes and a spare can go to the Olympic Games. And at the end of the day, Rowing Ireland or Sport Ireland want athletes in the Olympic Games. And then the top one is podium. So you either have to have a medal, bronze, silver or gold. Say for example, 2018, Ronan and I came 9th. Now I had finished university, I was supposed to start a job, I didn't. Went to the World Championships, came back, came 9th. That's in the top 11, so that would mean on the Olympic year, or qualification year, we would have qualified for the Olympic Games. So we qualified for world class funding. That means €20,000 in 4 instalments of €5,000. That competition was like the 14th, 15th, 16th of September. Your funding starts and runs from January to January. Your application goes in October, November. Fill that all out. Approved by Sport Ireland, supported by your governing body, Rowing Ireland, and then you get allocated your funding come January, where you enroll in the anti-doping program, the whereabouts system, and you get your first instalment on the 1st of April 2019, after qualifying in September 2018. So if you're planning on doing sport full-time, definitely look into how far away your first payment of your funding is going to be, when your eligibility race is that you can hit your criteria for funding, and then make sure you have enough funds or a way of backing yourself financially in that interim period. Now, for example, then the next year, myself and Ronan came 10th in the Europeans. That's done nothing for us, which means we need another result in the top 11 in the next World Cup, which was the only World Cup we were going to go to. But no, we got one of these. Well then, we've got 1. That still leaves us in the world class criteria. You need 2 of the 2 results in those 4 categories to increase your funding. In Linz, Austria, we got one of these. Now one of these is worth 40 grand. 40,000 euros. But again, we were still receiving our 5,000 euros every 3 months for the 2018 World Championships result, which was 9th. Now, it is now the 8th of May 2020. I won this medal on the 1st or the 2nd of September 2019. I received my increase in funding on the 1st of April. So again, that's a long interim period where technically my funding has increased because of what I've done in the sport for performance. But you see it later on. So the Olympic Games are again in summer. Then you're going to have another 6-7 months on the other side of that, where if you potentially don't meet your funding criteria, or you decide to retire after the Olympic Games, Rowing Ireland or your NGB could just decide not to give you your money. Even though you potentially think that you've worked those months in lieu, you're training pretty hard. You're thinking of taking up rowing full time. Make sure you've got some savings. Rowing Ireland carded athletes this year received 365,000 euros in funding for individual athletes. That was second out of all sports. Number 1 was cycling. Number 3 was Paralympics Ireland. Rowing Ireland, funding wise, also got an increase in their normal funding. But it's not enough. And in the carding criteria guidelines explicitly stated that if the NGB requires the athletes to make a contribution towards the sport because they cannot cover the costs, they will do so. This is the controversial part. We pay as athletes to go to regattas. We pay a small contribution for some regattas. Camps, a 2-week camp can cost you anything from 250 to 400 euros depending on how many people were there, where it was, boat transport, whether they were already there or not, whether there was a competition involved. A competition which could be a week, say in Lucerne, could cost you 400 to 450 euros. And then the World Championships in Linz, Austria last year, 1,400 euros. Towards the end of the year, I have car insurance, which is nearly 1,200 euros, 1,200 sterling, sorry. Car tax, 270 sterling. Now I have a bigger Jeep because I crashed my car and I got one of my late uncle's Jeeps. So it is a lot more expensive than potentially what it could have been, but I didn't have the money to buy a new car. Also had to pay for the World Cup as well. So out of the 5,000 euros that you're supposed to get, was it 3,250 euros, which then paid a chunk of my car tax, my car insurance and my rent. So I was well into my savings before the end of December came and the next 5,000 payout came. There are ways to make extra money, but there are certain athletes who have a higher profile in Irish rowing than others. So you have to really grind and work hard to increase your social media profile, your social networking profile with clients, businesses, to try and get yourself in there, get some speaking opportunities, potentially get yourself a sports agent, although in Ireland those opportunities are very poor and far between. And you can also potentially make some money with another job. We train 30 plus hours a week. If you take in the travel to and from, take in stretching, potentially a lot more than that. At the moment I'm working full time while training, but I'm training in my garage. I'm skipping 1, maybe 2 sessions a week when I genuinely just cannot find the time. So it is very difficult to do that, and I would challenge anyone. I know Africa Q did it, one of our women's sweep, but again found it very, very difficult. Also, if you don't hit your quarterly targets, because you're reviewed every 3 months to make sure that you're A, involved in the programme, B, producing results, and ultimately the end goal, will you go to the Olympics? Will you perform at the Olympics? That's what everyone wants to know. They want to know that their money are translating into Olympic performances, because in amateur sport that's all that matters. Although with the Circle K initiative this year, it's been fantastic. From December we've been getting points that allow us to collect €20 worth of free petrol every time you get 30,000 points, which is sensational, so big thanks to Circle K. As well as that, you could have your funding taken off you, very unlikely, if you start to decline in performance, stop producing results, stop turning up the training, or something really bad happens and you have to step away from the sport. Your income is not guaranteed. For me as a northern athlete, and especially other northern athletes who watch this, you have to set up a southern bank account. You have to set up PPES number. So luckily I had that in place from working in Dublin when I was in first year of uni, but not that I want to turn anyone away from it. It's an amazing opportunity, amazing time, unreal group, really hard program, like believe me, I've never trained this hard in my life. But we're seeing the results. Irish rowing's on the up. We've got medals coming in. We've got boats qualified for the Olympics. We potentially have more. As controversial as all this information is, it's available on the website. I haven't told you anything I'm not allowed to. Please, if you're on the cusp, push hard, save hard, and once you get out of university and your scholarships and funding is all finished, you got to know where the money's going to come from. You got to know how you're going to support yourself. You got to know how you're going to support a full-time rowing career, and then increase to get results. A big thank you to Sport Ireland, who covered our first camp of the year, which is amazing, and Connecticut Sports, who continue to push money into the programme to give us the supplements we need and to also help us out with bringing down the cost of some of the levies this year. It really helps, especially for some of the athletes who've moved away from home, are paying an extortionate amount of rent. In Belfast my rent was $250 a month for a class house. Down in Cork I was paying €475 a month, and it wasn't quite the same standard, even though I was living with the Africo and the crack was mighty, but the crack was mighty in Belfast too. One for the crossfitters out there, just to make the video interesting. 3,000 calorie bike. One roly-poly. One press up. And hydrate. If you have any questions, throw them to me on my Instagram, throw them to me on below in the comments. I hope this video wasn't too long and was informative to anyone out there who wants to do full-time sport in Ireland, or if you're just nosy and you want to know. All the best. See you in the next one.